Hi, I'm John Beilein, the men's basketball coach at the University of Michigan, and you are watching The Hot Seat.
Hello everyone, I'm Zach Damon and welcome to The Hot Seat. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm here in Ann Arbor at Chrysler Arena where today I'm going to be interviewing University of Michigan basketball coach John Beilein.
It's a pleasure to have you, and one of the questions I wanted to ask you first, just so that the people of Ann Arbor can get to know Coach B, who was your inspiration in getting into coaching? Was there an individual, or was it something that captivated you to get into coaching?
I grew up in a bit of a basketball family where my mother, her three brothers were all coaches. And one coached in Division I at Canisius, one at Division II at Lemoyne, and one was a high school coach. And my dad used to take me to their games all the time. And sitting there, I always wanted to have the keys to the gym. You know, that's what I wanted to do, is just coach somewhere I had the keys to the gym. Little did I know that it would take me one day to the keys of Chrysler Arena. And so once I went to college and found out that I was not going to be a pro by being a player, I decided, well, you know what, I can make a career out of this. I'm going to try to make a career out of this by just coaching.
It's interesting that you said as a player, because a lot of people say that some players can't make good coaches and some good coaches, you know what I mean, vice versa. Do you agree with that statement? I mean, do you think good players can make good coaches?
Well, I do know one thing. I don't know whether, you know, if you're a great player, whether you can make a great coach. There's certainly many of those. I do know one thing for sure, that not being a good player, a great player, does not preclude you from being a great coach. You just look at the players, or the major college coaches around the country. Do a study on it sometimes, what colleges they went to. And very few of them would be major players at big universities. Many of us went to small schools like Wheeling Jesuit. Tubby Smith went to High Point. Rick Barnes went to Lenore Ryan. I think Tommy Izzo went to Northern Michigan, I believe. We went to a lot of small schools, but now we're all coaching in the big time.
That's awesome. And what are some things that you do, Coach, that you do before games to get yourself ready? Because it's a tough job. A lot of people, all they see coaches do are stand in the sideline and call the plays, but there's a lot more that go into
Usually on a day of game, I make sure I get exercise. I try to do something to put things in perspective, personally, with whether it's prayer or going to Mass or doing something to make sure that I have things in perspective, and try to get myself to just focus on, all right, this is what I do for a living. I've done it almost 900 times before. Let's do it, and if we win, it's going to be great. If we lose, we're going to learn a lot from it.
And I think that's a great philosophy, because Vince Lombardi once said that winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. But you, I think, bring a different dimension to that.
Well, when you coach a lot, and I think football is much different in that when you think let's say a football coach has 10 or 11 games or 12 games a year, you know, we've had months where we've had almost 10 or 11 or 12 games. Wow. So that's, I think that where a 1 or 2 loss in a football season can just change the whole degree of success you have in a football season. 1 or 2 losses in basketball does not end your season. And then we always have the tournament at the end of the year, where even if you're not hot, you get hot at the right time, you can do great things.
I was talking to a former friend of mine, Terry Bowden, and he used to be the coach of Auburn football, and he said to me that the A for Auburn stood for attitude. How important would you say is attitude in being a coach? Is it very important? Because I know a lot of the times you go through adversity, you know, tough losses and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to have the right attitude to be a coach. If you, you know, prey on the negatives on your team, your team will think negative. If you aren't realistic with them and tell them they're better than they are, you know, they're going to have some rude awakenings as well. And that's the fine line I think all the coaches have to understand, that you have to where you have to treat everyone fairly. I think the poor idea is that you treat everyone exactly the same. You treat everyone fairly because everybody's different. As a parent, you know all 4 of my children are all differently, and all of them have different buttons to push. You can't expect anything different from the 13 young men on your team.
Definitely. And I know you're from New York originally. Are you a Knicks fan by any chance?
You know, I'm upstate New York, so I mean we're actually 7 hours from New York City. So I'm more of a, I guess, a Midwestern guy from New York, because we're right. You know, you can see Toronto from the lake where I grew up, and I'm a St. Louis Cardinal baseball fan, and I'm a football. I love the Buffalo Bills, but now that I'm in this area, I know the landscape of Detroit and all their fine teams. They'll have an effect on me.
Mm-hmm. How do you like Michigan so far? What do you think of it?
Yeah, you know, I haven't seen as much as I want. I've seen way too much of the inside of my office as far as the times we can go out, and we can't do a lot of recruiting during certain times, and I have had to leave the state to see Michigan kids play the way the NCAA rules work. But we're looking forward to settling down here sometime in the fall.
Awesome. Now, I know you were at West Virginia before and had great success reviving that program. What was it that really captured your attention at the University of Michigan? Was it the campus when you visited? Was it the people? Or was it the tradition that Michigan had?
Yeah, I think the tradition and the potential here, I just saw it was tremendous. Leaving West Virginia was a very difficult thing for us, but I just saw a ceiling here that was so high that we could just keep striving to be better and better and better, and I really liked everything that I had heard and read about the university. I didn't visit it before I took the job. It's in my position, you can't always do that sometimes. You might as well just take it, because once you start visiting campuses, you never can go back to West Virginia. So I decided to take a leap of faith in Bill Martin and everybody here, and we aimed to get the program back to national prominence, back to where I know the alums and the state want us to be.
Oh, and I know you will do that, because you're a determined guy.
Well, thank you.
One of the things I wanted to know from you, because I know as coaches, you go to the locker room in a break in halftime, and you got to get the troops riled up. You got to get them fired up, because if they're behind or if they're winning, you got to say, look, we got to get the job done. What are some quotes or some passages or some things that you tell your players?
I think that too, about getting people, the fire and brimstone speech that you give to the people think you give to it, that only happens, you know, if there's 30 games in a season, probably 3 or 4 times. Okay. I think most of the times you're educating them, you're telling them what they can do, not what they can't do, you're encouraging them, but there's not too many times that we want them to go out and play at a level that, you know, their face doesn't change expressions a great deal, whether they're doing well or doing poorly. Just stay constant. And I think that's they can't see a coach that's up and down and up and down. Mm-hmm. There's got to be some patience and some confidence. And that's basically what a lot of our locker room talks are about confidence. Yes, you can do this, and here's how we're going to do it.
I think that's great. You obviously have a lot of faith in your players and in their ability. Yep. It seems like you guys are almost like a little family, you know, when you guys travel. And do you have that sort of philosophy with the guys? Is it more of like a family?
Yeah, I think that that's really what got us through some rough spots in the past, is that you get so close to a team. I mean, you see that young man 6 out of 7 days a week for up to 3 to 4 hours a day, 6 days a week. And all of you are together. Let's say, counting the coaching staff and the non-scholarship players, there's 20 of you. You're together all the time. And that really, you know, when you think about that, during the year, as far as active time, I see them more than I may see my wife, as far as just conversation, you know, interacting. And that's really it becomes family. It really does become family. And unfortunately, the family sometimes takes a hit because of that, because you don't get to spend the time with them, but they know that during that season, that's what Dad does, and Dad has to coach that team so that they can, so that we can win.
Yeah. And you bring up so many good points. I've run into coaches who are coming up in the ranks, whether that's high school or whether that's Division II. Do you have any words of wisdom or things you can put out there for young coaches that are coming up in the ranks?
What I usually say to them all the time is, when you're examining your team, you're never as good as you think you may be. And I emphasize, and you're never as bad as you may be. Somewhere in between that, just look at your team and try to focus on development instead of being judgmental where you are. Because if you concentrate on developing your team every day to just get a little bit better, and continue to tell the team how much you see that improvement, because they won't see the improvement in themselves unless you continually remind them. Then all of a sudden that confidence comes. But if, like I said, as I said before, if you're up and you're down and you're up and you're down, it's very hard for them to stay focused on their development.
Yeah. Coach, it seems to me like you're just a perfectionist. I mean, I envision you a guy at practice who's seeing the players and they do things phenomenally well, but you always could probably pick out the things that they need to work on. And I think that's what makes a good coach, is you're able to see those things.
Yeah, there's a fine line between giving them the great confidence and at the same time just getting them to play at just a little bit higher level. And we think part of that is developing their IQ, their basketball IQ, and then just developing a little bit more of their skill set, so that when they're making their skill set perform with such habit, they don't even think about it anymore. That they're going to use their left hand, or they're going to throw the pass right so the guy can shoot the ball, not down here. So I think that's you like to pick out. That's a good look. You found the man,
right.
But did you hit him in the hands or did you hit him over here? And those are just little things that develop. That pretty soon they don't think about that. Pretty soon it becomes natural.
Right. No, I think you bring up a great point, because if you work at it every day, it does become second nature, just like coaching. One of the things that I've heard about you is that you're a guy who is just so focused. You're a guy that's always been focused. Where do you get that focus? Is it more so your family, or is it more so you just love what you do?
I don't know what else. This is all I've been doing since I was a 7th grade teacher and a JV, basketball coach and football coach and baseball coach. That's all I've wanted to do, is coach a team, to a national championship. And so we have been. We did win a national championship in the NIT this year, and we came very close at West Virginia a couple times. It's just, I didn't think at one time it was even an attainable goal. And now, being the coach in Michigan, it is an attainable goal. So as I've been able to be fortunate enough to make every step, you see the goal is attainable. And once you see that it's attainable, you just focus right in on trying to get to that level.
Exactly. That's awesome. Wow. I mean, it's just so great to sit with you, Coach. I mean, you just have a great energy. You do. You have great energy. One of the things I want to know is, what do you want to see from the fans at Michigan this year? When they come to games, when you're coaching, what do you want to see from the fans?
Well, I still have not seen a game here. I've only seen it on TV. And I'm just hoping that, for number one, that they'll be patient with it. But number two, I hope they understand how important they are to our success. That, at this level of Division I, there's packed arenas everywhere.
Yep.
And it's so hard to go get a road win. And there's nothing like playing at home. All coaching cliches, but they're very true.
Yeah.
And we want to establish here, and I think that Tommy Amaker had done a great job of establishing that, a home court advantage here, that the students come to see their friends play, the community comes to see the state of Michigan's team play, and we all our TV and loyal fans are watching us from all over the world. And they'll see this Michigan arena and the Chrysler Arena here, and hopefully they'll see it jumping all the time, and that even when we don't win, that I hope that people walk out of here saying, boy, that was an entertaining evening.
Yeah. No, and I think that's great, because that's the whole point of sports, right? To be entertaining, to bring people together.
It's an event. It's an event. It's an event between, I say that with the officials, let's not you and I get into a sparring match. This is an event. Let's manage the event. I'm coaching, you're officiating, the players are playing. This is there. People paid money to come to the game. Let's manage this event.